But Jackson, this is the perfect one for my...
See, I didn't hear that.
You didn't hear
No.
that? You didn't hear it open?
No.
Oh,
I saw
wow.
you open it.
That was the perfect one. That was the perfect one for my ASMR. Can you hear this?
I mean, I'm sure the people listening to on the episode probably are, but I'm not.
Well, Audacity can certainly hear it.
Okay, well, for those who are... Yes. I didn't hear that.
The ASMR.
But I'm sure it sounded delightful.
Yeah, but is that because of Discord, or is that because
Probably
this thing
Discord.
is designed?
Because of
This
Discord.
thing is designed for Discord, YouTube, OBS. It's designed for OBS, so maybe I should use it with OBS instead of
So,
Audacity.
Troy, do you want to bark to everyone what your new toy you're using?
Huh? My new toy? Yeah, I've got a blue steel.
Still.
What is it called again? A blue
Yeti.
Blue Yeti, that's it. The Blue Yeti. I've got the Blue Yeti X, so I've got a new mic, which is fantastic.
So if this doesn't bring us more listeners, then we just give up hope.
No, I was just sick of my audio being really terrible.
Yeah.
I say as I jerk this thing back and forth
Yes.
and wobble the thing to get it right.
Yes, fair enough.
And it's going wobble wobble.
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
So since we've officially started, I just want to say hello, everyone. Welcome to another fun old episode. We didn't do an episode last week because I think our energy levels were both quite low. Troy, I want to rant.
Okay, welcome to Jackson's Rant.
A bit early in the podcast. but-
Jackson's highlight of the week rant.
Well, it's not really the highlight because there's actually other highlights.
He's like, yeah, I actually had good highlights, not
There are
just
good
ranty
highlights,
bad
but
ones.
so this wasn't my work's fault. It was the people, the site I was going to's fault. So I left from my house this morning at 5 o'clock, got to the site half an hour early just to beat the traffic, which was all good.
Yep.
So the job started at 7:30. So I went to the door and no one was there.
No one was there.
No one was there. And then I proceeded to ring some numbers just to say, hey, is someone coming? And then at 8:45, an hour later, someone rocked up. And then someone else rocked up, and then someone else rocked up, and then they all rocked up. And they all looked at me going, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm meant to be test and tagging. I started at 7:30. And they go, oh.
They're like, what? They're like, what's this guy doing here? What? Sir, can you please leave the premises? We haven't opened yet.
Well, I wish they did turn me away, but anyway. It turned out to be a really small job, but yeah, they long story short, the branch manager rocked up like at 9 when everyone else was at 8:45, whatever. And everyone got emailed about this 2 weeks ago, and they just completely forgot.
Wait, everyone at your work or their work?
Their work, their site.
So, how did they not... So, they all got emailed and not one person was like, oh, we better get someone to get there early to let in the test and tagger.
Yeah, so I was outside for a good hour and a bit.
That's fun. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, so anyway, that's my little rant. But anyway, yeah. Highlights, Troy. You want to kick off a highlight? Now, do you want to talk about... There's a few highlights I think you might speak of. One,
Such as?
floating bed.
I haven't made a floating bed.
Oh, it's in the process of being
I made a pallet bed.
Ah, pallet bed. Okay.
And it was like it was meant to be. Let's put it like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Because originally, because we bought the Super King bed, and we were like, right. I said to Courtney, we've got like 3 weeks, or 4 weeks until it gets delivered. 3 to 4 weeks, it'll be delivered. So I was like, okay, well, rather than spending another $2,000 on a bed base, why don't we just make a floating bed base? Because that's what you want. And Courtney agreed with that. And long story short, you know, I couldn't get around to doing it because life got in the way. Who would have thought it? So
remarkable.
And I said to Courtney, worst case scenario, we quickly make like a pallet bed or something. It'll be rustic.
Yes.
I sent a photo of a Snapchat to someone, and they said, "Oh, nice, rustic." And I went, "Nope, just lazy."
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. Just the laziness. Because yeah.
But the pallet, we weren't originally meant to do the pallet bed. I just figured, oh yeah, I can get some pallets from work or from job sites around and stack them up. And then basically a week after we got the bed and I was going to get started, I needed to build this bed frame. Courtney gets home and she goes, oh, the neighbours have a bunch of pallets out the front of their place. And they were the smaller pallets, which meant I didn't have to cut much off them to get them to fit the bed. And they were also European pallets with stamps on them that said how they were treated, because whenever pallets are brought in from overseas, they're treated somehow, whether it's pesticides or heat treated. But they actually, I looked it up on Google. They stamp it to tell you if it's heat treated or pesticide. And sure enough, these ones had the HT stamp, which meant heat treated. So no bugs in these pallets, and they're perfectly safe to use for everyday things.
Yeah.
So it's like we were meant to have a pallet bed.
It was just meant to be.
It was just meant to be.
How do you get to a point where you're just meant to have a pallet bed? Like, how does that happen?
Well, you run out of time, and then the neighbours have pallets out the front.
Okay. It's a sign.
Yeah, it was.
It was a sign.
It was definitely a sign. It was the universe. It was The Secret, Jackson. You ever heard of The Secret?
Kind of.
If you visualize it,
it
will come true. And I remember listening to that, and the guy's like talking about. I was staring up at the ceiling at this house, and I envisioned myself in that house, and I wasn't planning on getting that actual house.
It was like this.
Every night I'd lie in bed and envision that I'd get this house, visualize on this dream house, and then one day we moved into a new house, and I put the sign up and put it up, and that night I visualized, and I went, wait a minute. That's actually the house we're in.
I remember that very strongly because The Chaser, back in the day when they were on TV, they did a bit about The Secret, and one of the guys got a check written out for $100. No.
Mm-hmm. Oh, fake check. Yeah, that's
fake
right,
check.
For like 10,000 or $1 million or something.
So it was like a $10.00, and he's like...
That's right, yeah. He added the fake zero.
He faked zero with a passion. He's like, if I focus on this, I could be a lot more rich.
My energy. Money flow to me.
And then he did a bit like when he was focusing on, there was a woman out in the street filming. He was looking at a lady's dog, which was in a handbag. So
he visualizes this dog as my dog. He runs over and grabs it.
I've sent the signal up there, and this is my dog.
That's right. This dog will be mine. Now she walks across the road, gets hit by a bus. The dog goes flying towards the guy, and he catches it, and he goes, "The secret."
The secret. Yeah, such a weird scheme.
Don't get me wrong. The concept of it
makes some sense.
Well, it does make some sense to a degree, and it is a
scheme.
Well, no, it's the concept of like this visualization process has been around for ages and ages, and to some degree, it does kind of make sense. I mean, if you visualize yourself having $1 million, you can get $1 million, but you have to more than just visualize.
Yeah,
obviously, you can't just sit at home. Oh, excuse me. And I think they even say that in The Secret. You can't just sit on the couch all day visualizing. That's not how it's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm gonna visualize.
I mean, unless you're a really powerful visualizer, and like somehow a friend of yours brings you a lottery ticket for your birthday, and you win the lottery.
Yeah, I'm gonna visualize that 70-inch TV sitting in JB Hi-Fi.
That's some powerful visualization. Right? But there is something about like the concept or the I'm trying to think of the exact quote, but it's like a good thing has come to those who wait. You know, there is some degree of making sense to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Or don't force things.
Yeah. So
you had your rant. It was a good rant.
Yeah, and
would you like to hear my little rant?
Well, you have one.
A little bit. I went back to a job where basically we told the builder, you're going to have to bring your concreters back to grind down half the floor, basically, to fix. Basically, where there was this door, and where the door sat, if they'd installed the floorboards, it would be right over the top of the sliding door. Mm-hmm. So the door would be sliding into the boards. It's supposed to be above the boards.
Yes,
like the little kick part for the door.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem was, that was borderline right where the boards would be. So it's right above the boards. The only problem is there was a 5mm fill that I had to fill there.
Mm-hmm.
So I said to them, you're going to have to get your concreters back. You're either going to have to lift the door so I can fill underneath it, or get your concreters back to grind half the floor to get the rest of the floor level with this dip.
Mm.
And they went, no, you're just going to have to do it. Like, originally they said you're just gonna have to do it, and I go, well, it's gonna take me like 3-4 hours, and it's I gotta grind half the floor, and I go, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, fair enough.
And so they got the concreters back, and then Concreters apparently refused to do it because it would take 3 or 4 hours, and they're lazy. that was pretty much it. They're lazy. So I get there the next day, and nothing's been done. I call my bosses and go, nothing's been done here. And so they call up, talk to the builders, and they go, oh, can you talk to the builder? And I go, I don't want to talk to the builder, but all right. So I talk to him, and he goes, oh yeah, if you just take off 3 mils, you just do this. And if you take off that, and I go, yeah, I know, and I can do that.
It's not that hard.
It's not my job, and I don't want to.
Exactly. I
said to him, I can do it, but we're going to have to charge you for it. And he goes, yeah, that's fine. Just we need to get it done. And so I called up my bosses and told them basically, yes, I can do it, but it's going to take. They said, how long is it going to take? And I go, I don't know. I've never really done this before. It could take 5 minutes. It could take 3-4 hours. It could take. And they go, oh, when do you want to do it? And I'm like, well, it's Friday. It's 1:30. I can just work now. I just get it done today. I want to get it done. I don't want to have to come back here.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the whole job was basically perfect. I only had to fill like 3 small spots, and there was that grind. So I ended up spending 3 hours grinding like 2 meters by 5 meters wide bit of slab, and probably taking about 5 mil. Well, I had to take about 5 mil off.
Okay.
So that was last Friday. So that's my rant.
Well, I want to shift a focus of energy towards some positivity. I noticed on the YouTube channel, guys, if you want to go check out the visual format, go check out the Average Blokes on YouTube. I haven't been paying attention to much. I haven't been checking the statistics that much.
That channel's dead.
Who watches them still? Gosh.
You know, I watched a bit of it with the cousins,
Yeah.
Corny and Letitia's cousins. I showed them a little bit of the clips.
So I was looking at, like, because you can see how many channel views you get per day, or roughly. 2 days ago, so on Saturday,
we had 4 views.
222.
What?
Channel views.
Huh? Well, the whole channel.
Yeah. 2 people.
That's weird.
222 times people clicked on our channel. And then,
what do you think the odds?
And like in May 27, we got 1,386.
Oh wow! I was two of those clicks. I clicked on it. I had to find it to show our cousins.
And then June 2nd, we had 400 channel views. So we're getting. It's actually kind of nice seeing that.
But we're not getting subscribers, Jackson. That's the problem.
The problem is
people are coming to the channel and they're going, no.
Well, it's not so much the subscribers.
No.
It's more
I don't think so.
It's more the listeners I'm more interested in, really. It's not so much the channel. Because what people do with podcast shows is that they make a YouTube channel just for the Patreon, and that's how you get the money. Because, like, you know, if you're missing out on the visual content, which, I mean, for us, there's not much really to see. Just Troy drinking a can of Fanta.
It's Fanta, no sugar. Wait a minute.
Yeah, well, I believe it.
It's no sugar Fanta.
Yeah, 0 sugar.
See, hold on. Gusto Ores.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
It was upside down on my thing.
Back to front mirrored, yeah. So yeah, check out the channel. I mean, like I said, I'm really interested in the listeners' side on the Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. But
how are we doing on Spotify?
I haven't checked Spotify. I actually don't know how to check, but
so Jackson, you know my that viral video that I made.
Oh yeah, he has that.
Because of that, I got 2 subscribers.
That's sitting at 4.5 now. I mean, last time I saw it was 2.2 or something.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to get much higher, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Makes me want. Now that I've got this mic, now I've got this beautiful.
Yeah, now you might get to content creation, Troy. You might do it.
I was gonna make. I've been planning on making videos. But I get home from work and I've been too tired. Well, not too tired. It's just I relaxed for a couple of hours and I got to make dinner.
Yeah, the thing I have is I have just a bunch of drafts sitting there waiting to be published or rendered. That's my issue.
And I've developed a bad habit of basically at the end of the day, come home, relax for a couple of hours, make dinner, then play a little bit of Rocket League, then have dinner with Courtney, or both, or in whichever order. Sorry, I keep doing it.
Yes, you do.
And then basically it's 8:00 at night or 8:30.
And it's like, how did that happen so fast?
Bad habits.
Yeah, I'm trying to open up the Acast, but it's not working. But that's okay.
because there's a couple of games. I found out what that game that I want to get is called. It's called Stone Shard.
Stone Shard. Oh, yeah, you mentioned that last night.
Or Stone Hard. Yeah, Stone Hard or something.
One of the stones.
It's like it looks interesting. It's like because it's like a little 2D looking game. But do you know how you've never played Diablo, have you?
Nope.
We were talking about it the other day.
Yeah, I saw a news article saying it as of yesterday
got a lot of.
It made $666 million.
It would have, yeah. It must be good. Must be like the second one. It must be good then.
I have no idea what Diablo is, so it's okay.
So one of the great things about Diablo, and
I know what sort of it is,
and compared to other games of its genre and all that, is the fact that it was one of those games that first introduced like having the same equipment but a better version of it.
Yep.
So like for example, you go to pick up an item, and it's got a white color on its above its name, or its name is in white, which means it's just a basic item, and then it goes green, blue, gold, purple and purple's the best, or then red, blue, or then red or something. Or you've played games like that, haven't you? Where certain items, they got tiers. It was the first thing to introduce tiers of items.
Yep.
So you can have two people could have the exact same item, but one tier is better than the other tier, which meant it had a bunch of extra upgrades and abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that was fun about Diablo is that when you fight a boss or a demi-boss, is they drop more rare items, and they've got a higher chance of dropping rare items. So you go versus the boss.
Oh yeah.
To try and get the rare item, and then
Lego Worlds had that sort of thing. You'd have to go to certain areas, like secret hidden areas, to find the more value items. As supposed to be in bosses, it wasn't so much. Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of the and it's got a huge item dropping. Like it's one of those games where, similar to Skyrim in the sense that you can't carry everything, even if you wanted to.
Yep.
Like you get over encumbered quite easily. But in the sense that you can only fit so many items in your little inventory spot bag.
Right.
But I've spoken on a lot about that. I need to get the game at some point.
Yeah.
But this 2-dimensional game has the same concept of items by the looks of it.
Sure.
Tier lists.
Fair enough. All right. Let's move on to the topic at hand. Now, What is the topic? So there's it's a few words I like to say that this topic is. The first one being egalitarianism. Have you heard that word?
Okay. I have heard it a few times. I'm not quite sure on the definition of egalitarianism.
Okay,
Isn't it just
it basically
giving?
Is the doctrine that all people are equal and deserve equal rights and opportunities.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
And this is kind of it is kind of important, but it's
Jackson, that's not egalitarianism. That's equality.
But egalitarianism is the scientific word for. Actually, I don't know if it's.
Also part of the reason why egalitarianism exists is because people have hijacked the word equality.
Yeah, probably. So, well, it's actually so it says in the little thing here. So, it's a political philosophy. Egalitarianism or equalitarianism is a school of thought within political philosophy that builds on the concept of social equality, prioritizing it all for all people. Egalitarian doctrines are generally characterized by the idea that all humans are equal in fundamental worth or moral status. Now, Troy, you and I are Australians, so this is why I want to talk about this, because this implies to us, right? Because we live in Australia where everyone's have a fair go, and everyone deserves the same amount of pays. Same amount of annual leave, care, sick care, healthcare, free healthcare, and all that stuff. Now, the reason why I brought this up...
Yes, we're a semi-egalitarianistic society.
Yeah. Now, that can be a good thing, and also what I've been thinking about lately, a bad thing.
You can, yes. You got to take the good with the bad.
So I guess that's why Australia is deemed the lucky country, because, if you come to Australia, it is the land of the equal. You're treated just like the other person, except
I guess I'd call it the land of the advantage.
Yeah, but in the real world, it can be a bit dark and a bit messy. But that's what the idea of Australia is being portrayed as, like being a fair and equal place. Mm-hmm. So the reason why I brought up this egalitarianism, that word, egalitarianism. There's an American football player who plays for Collingwood FC called Mason Cox, right? And he recently played his 100th AFL game, which is a record for any American to play that many amount of games of AFL.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
And
Wow.
yeah, and so he's really come a long way from like barely not knowing.
How long has he been playing?
2017.
Yeah, because I did hear about him back
Maybe?
a few years ago, maybe.
So he was
I did hear about an American guy.
He was
a basketballer.
Yes.
Yes.
He also was.
Yes.
He was also studying in uni. He was like literally. I cannot remember this correctly, but like something to do with rocket science. Legit, like something similar to rocket science. So
And he chose football.
he gave it a go. He gave it a
Really?
go. Turns out he's not too bad at it.
At football or rocket science?
Maybe a bit of both. Because he said if AFL didn't work out for him, he would have fallen back. So I was.
Imagine being the guy who's like, oh man, if this sports career doesn't work out, I guess I could always just work as a scientist.
You know what? It's funny you mentioned that. There was a Brisbane Lions player who came from...
It's like Rowan Atkinson going, oh man, if being a movie comedy star doesn't work out, I could fall back on my bachelor's degree in whatever.
Yeah. Well,
I think he's got some sort of degree in something.
Yeah, there was an AFL player who retired because of concussion, and he could fall back into some science career, so he had it really good either way.
Plus he's well known.
Yeah.
So anyone will want the ex AFL player as they're working as their scientist.
Yeah.
So they can say, yeah, here at Clinical Labs we have Ian Thorpe.
Yeah. So
That's the swimmer, isn't it? I forget.
3 years ago, Mason Cox went on an American talk show called Pat McAfee Show. Pat McAfee is a punter in the NFL game. He basically, his job is to kick a ball down a field and get it as deep as possible without going out of bounds. He was interviewing Mason Cox 3 years ago. This is when COVID hit the AFL, so they were going into their bubbles or whatever. And then Pat McAfee was interviewing him at the time and saying, like, what makes a good player? And Mason said, a good player is determined by how many games you play in the league. And at this point, he only played 50-odd games. And then so he gave an answer saying, like, you know, I've played 50 games. I'm going okay.
I'm a good player.
And then
I'm a good player.
Well, that's what any non-Australian professional athlete would say. But because he's living in Australia, he was like, no, I can't.
And he's not from Australia.
He's like, no, I can't boast myself up because if I do, I get shut down. Like he was saying, and then he went up saying something. He said that Australia has tall poppy syndrome.
I was about to say, is this the way you bring in tall poppy syndrome? Also, who said that? The American guy?
Yeah, the American guy. So the American guy's on this American talk show. And the host is asking him, so you're a good player. You can say you're a good player. And the guy's like, no, I can't say that because, you know, you got to be humble in Australia. Yeah, otherwise you get knocked down. Yeah,
that's right.
So, because like the Americans, because, you know, every individual is great in their own like the NFL players, you know, they all have this self-confidence, self-boost, like they think they're the greatest or they can be the greatest. Well, in AFL and potentially most sports, well, I guess AFL is the main one though. If you try to stand out like an individual, you'll get shut down because, like, no, you should be being equal to all your teammates because AFL is a sport where it's 18 people. There's no real relying on one person, you know. There's the midfielders, the forwards, the defenders, the coach, you know, all those.
I mean, that doesn't just happen like here, for example. I remember listening to, I can't remember what it was, but they were talking about LeBron James, right? Mm-hmm. And they were talking about earlier on in his career when he was a bit younger, he was sort of a bit more of a I'll do it myself kind of guy. Oh no, sorry, it was Kobe Bryant they were talking about, not LeBron James. Kobe Bryant was a do-it-myself kind of guy. Like, I'll just give me the ball and let me do my job. And because of that, he suffered a few losses in some of the games and all that until he worked out to actually, it's a team sport.
Yeah. So,
like, at least this is what he says. He worked out it was a team sport and started, you know, passing more and getting more. And basically, instead of just taking the ball and trying to score points, he would actually pass it and go for the safest shot and get the assist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and he started winning and became a better player overall. So it doesn't just happen. Like, I'm sure people told him off a few times when he lost a few games and that. So I don't think it just happens here.
No, but I get it. It's more noticeable here, though. I think, like, because like in America,
well, smaller. Well, I guess smaller.
Small population.
Small population. Yeah, people stick out a bit more. I hadn't heard of tall poppy syndrome until I watched that show.
Neither had I.
Koala Man. I'd never heard of it until Koala Man.
I hadn't
It was
heard
the
it until
funniest
this
thing.
interview. And it's kind of fascinating because I kind of like the Mason Cox story that he is like American coming to Australia to play AFL that only Australians are good at mainly, and some Irish
could have
people.
sworn.
But yeah.
I could have sworn I told you about it. Like I said, what's the first episode of Koala Man? Because the episode is literally about a tall poppy.
Yeah, maybe.
Like it's like a monster poppy.
So I wanted to dive deep into what tall poppy syndrome is, and what's the fors and against for it, like, and stuff like that. So basically, introduction about tall poppy syndrome.
Did you research it at all?
Yes, I did.
I haven't.
I've got 3 or 4 tabs open.
Good. Carry me, Jackson.
So the first one I'm just going to read is a little introduction. In Australia and New Zealand, cutting down the tall poppy is sometimes used by business interpreters to describe those who deliberately criticise other people for their success and achievements. It has been described as being the byproduct of Australian and New Zealand culture value of egalitarianism. So yeah, it seems that definitely Australia and New Zealand it's definitely more common.
But how does that got to do with egalitarianism? Isn't it like
it's been described as the byproduct?
Wait.
It's being the byproduct of Australian and New Zealand culture.
So we're all equal. Therefore, if you think you're better than someone else, or if you're more equal than others, will bring you back down to being equal.
Yeah. So in Australia and New Zealand,
like the communists,
the term it's the term that is referred to successful people being criticised. This occurs when the peers believe that being too successful or they are bragging about their success. Intense scrutiny and criticism of such person is termed as, like I said, cutting down the poppy. Related phenomena in Japan, a similar common expression is the nail that sticks up and gets hammered down.
The nail that sticks up. Yeah, I've heard that.
In the Netherlands, this expression is don't put your head above ground level. In Chile, this expression is known as the chaquata, meaning pull the jacket.
Oh, there you go. So it happens pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
I was going to say, with Japanese culture, it's all about being respectful. And
yes,
humble
definitely.
And all that. Similar, not quite the same with like those. You said the Netherlands, did you?
Yes.
Yeah. What are all those countries in Europe? Those specific. Yeah, they're called. What are they called? Countries.
Like you mean neutral?
Like Sweden, the Netherlands, and I guess Germany's considered one of them.
They're part of the Allies.
No. It was. I'm trying to think of the term for it, but anyway, those kind of countries, they're a bit more. They're humble in a different way.
Yeah,
it's sort of, they like doing their job is the best way for me to put it.
Yeah.
Like it's less about respecting other people. It's more like being respectful in general.
Yep.
I don't know how to explain it.
That's okay. So the origins of the syndrome, like many
but it also causes other issues. Like for example, a family friend of ours who went to Germany, for example, she was she was a bit larger than other people, and so she needed a mobility scooter and all that. And she found that in Germany they didn't have any handicap access areas or anything like that because being larger was seen as like, I'm not going to say it's a bad thing, but seen as a like the person being lazy and overeating and or something like that. It wasn't seen as any kind of it wasn't seen as a crutch. It was seen more as a choice, I guess, is the best way for me to put it.
Mm-hmm. So but
that was just what she told me.
Yeah. Okay. So the origins of it seem to stem back to the ancient Greek and Roman civilization. During this period, tall poppy syndrome began as a figurative instruction to deal with those who had gained too much power. Like, think of we should totally just go stab Caesar because he has too much power.
I mean, I don't think that was quite that. Yeah, sure, why not? Oh, he's getting too big for his britches, boys.
It seemed that it became a common facet in Australia and New Zealand in the 1984 book called Tall Poppies by Susan Mitchell, popularising the term to point out that it is now and often regarded as a cultural phenomenon.
I'm just trying to think. What are some examples?
Here we go.
I can't think of any examples.
Signs of tall poppy syndrome, like imposter syndrome. Tall poppy syndrome isn't a diagnosable condition, so they think it's a medical condition, and it's rather
with the person who's got it or everyone else.
No, I think it's just It isn't diagnosed and is rather a common social phenomenon that permeates society. There are a handful of common signs that exhibit when a person is feeling this way, including hesitation in sharing ideas, not pursuing goals for fear of being shamed, fear of making peers uncomfortable when sharing good news, withholding from celebrating success, downplaying achievements, and appearing socially excluded. So this is, you mentioned this on the phone, I feel, when I brought this idea up because you were talking about the Hemsworth and how he's over in the States now and he's doing really good.
Yeah, because that was the joke of Koala Man.
Yes. Okay.
That was the joke. They're like, oh yeah, what? They think she's Chris Hemsworth. Think she's better than us. Like, remember when I said to you, like, I showed you the quote, and the guy's like, what? Some bloke thinks he's better than us. Must be from Adelaide.
Oh yeah. But like, I'm trying to think who's from Adelaide who thinks like that though.
It's not the joke is because. The joke with the show, because the guy who wrote the show was from Sydney, right?
Right.
And so the joke is he makes fun of Adelaide, but here's the thing: he never mentions Victoria at all in the show.
He must be from Victoria then, originally.
No, he's from Sydney. I looked it up, and I was like, because he brings up Adelaide, he brings up Queensland, he brings up Sydney, but he never brings up Victoria, and he in the show, that is, and he did that on purpose because the idea is that Victorians want to be spoken about.
That's
they
true.
Want to be. I reckon they want to be the centre of attention. And as a Victorian, I can say that with my hand up.
Which is kind of funny. That's why like Victoria has a rivalry with Adelaide and also, South Australia and also a rivalry with New South Wales. Like it just wants to keep having a fight of being the number one at best of everything, whatever.
Because in one of the episodes, they do a profession. It's like the Australian hacky sack tournament. Or something like that. No, sorry, it was handball. It was the handball tournament. Yeah, yep. So they like got the little ball. And
like Foursquare.
Like it was Foursquare. It was Foursquare handball, whacking it back and forth.
That's brilliant.
And the idea was
tennis,
that...
I guess for those other names.
The idea was that it was introduced like the different states' teams and introduced the Adelaide team and they were like all looking pretty bad, and introduced the Queensland team and they all looked a bit... And then it had the main town, the town where the show takes place, their team, which is the main character's two kids, or the other main characters. And then it had the Sydney team, and the Sydney team were roided up.
Oh, gosh. That's funny.
But it doesn't show Victorian team or Melbourne or anything like that at all.
Mm-hmm. Right, okay. So there's a lot here to get through, actually, so we'll see how we go. Now, the next sort of thing here, it says, is it more common in men or women? Which is, I don't know if it's like, just for reading it, I don't think that is the thing.
If psychology were to say anything about, like, to explain anything to do with that, I would guess it would occur more in women, because women are more trying, well, as they put, gossipy and try to put each other down.
True, or have the higher social...
and have a go with the other people. Well, guys are a bit more. They just get physical and angry and scream and yell.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you were pissed, if you're a guy and you don't like someone, you think they're a bit of a tall poppy, I imagine you'd rather like have a go at them rather than say something behind their back, or I don't know, like to other people. And if it's a social thing, then but yeah, that's just a guess.
That's a great guess, Troy. Tall poppy syndrome is more common in women, particularly as women do continue to be pitted against one another as competitors, which, if you think about it, makes sense. Whether this be a self-inflicted action or a socially induced knee-jerk reaction. When looking at this from an anecdotal perspective, it is
So anecdotal means no evidence.
Yeah.
It's just from what you can tell.
Yeah, it is understandable as women are often raised to see one another as competitors, this extending into adult life in career and personal milestones, which leads us...
That's very confusing, because it's supposed to be men who are supposed to be raised to see themselves as I think in many situations.
The thing is,
more so.
I guess when you see a man do it, you feel like, oh yeah, that's normal. But then when you see a woman do it, I guess it's like, wow, you raise eyebrows. It's like, well, what's going on? Maybe, but... I think I see what you mean. When one, because I suppose if I see a bloke who's doing better than me, You go
I
good on him.
obviously,
Yeah, good.
yeah, I say good on him. I kind of a bit pissed off because I'm not doing that well, but I don't really. But I can imagine like you see a girl, another woman sees another woman who's better than her. It's like, oh, that bitch, that bitch over there. She might think she's good, but I know what she does at midnight.
Yeah, she puts makeup on at midnight.
I know she goes out and cheats.
And guesses the lotto numbers.
She just got lucky because she got them fake tits from the surgeon.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
Wait, why do you know so much?
I should. I came across a video, a YouTube channel the other day. I don't think I'll watch it, but you know those shows, Married at First Sight,
Yes,
and that.
the reality
it was-
TV shows.
Yeah, but it was a guy doing voiceovers for that and the AFL and stuff.
Oh, okay. The channel.
So
7 guy.
they've muted the video audio, and they've it's basically bad lip.
Oh,
reading.
bad lip reading's good. I love them videos.
So one guy goes like, "Oh, everyone last one to put their hand in kisses every other boy." Oh no, I don't want to do that. And it's all these football players putting their hands in and doing like the
Oh yeah, 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
and it's got the AFL umpire pointing at the guy, and he's like, I saw you pick your nose," and the football player's walking towards him. You know, he's like, "No, you didn't. You can't prove it. It was that guy."
I have seen the best ones I've seen.
You'd
The
love
NFL
those.
bad lip reading is the best. That's the ones I've seen are the best.
It's the same. I think it's the same channel.
Yeah, it
but
could be.
The guy does this voice like this, and goes, I didn't realize I was falling until I fell." No, you didn't.
So going back to your guess, this is where the next point's going to come on to. In what setting is tall poppy syndrome most common? While many will expect the workplace to be the most common breeding ground of the phenomenon, it's off-putting to know that the tall poppy syndrome is most common in our social network.
Really?
And with those we view
okay.
as friends and support.
Interesting.
In a 28...
So-
yeah, go on.
So instead of your work colleagues being, I suppose...
Because with
your
work colleagues, you
being
want to work
jealous of
together.
you,
You
it's
don't
your
want to be...
friends-
Yeah.
It's your friends and acquaintances and family.
Possibly. In a 2018 study, it was found people experienced the phenomenon with those in their most intimate circle, resulting in some ceasing to share their moments of happiness and excess for fear to be ridiculed, resented, or ostracized by their nearest and dearest. Well, that's weird, though, because, like...
So I'm confused here. So tall poppy syndrome is when a person who could do better suppresses themselves so that other people don't get upset with them.
It was found people experience the phenomenon with those in their most intimate circle, resulting in some ceasing to share their moments of happiness. So the thing I'm finding odd about that is if you got really good close friends and family members, whatever, you'd want to share the good news with them, though, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
But if you want to be feared, ridiculed, resented, and ostracized by their nearest and dearest, I wouldn't feel like that would be the thing unless it's something that's unrealistic. But
some people also have the personality where some people overreact where they, you get $1 million and oh my goodness, they scream at Then some people just react with like a kind of, oh, that's neat.
Yeah,
I like that. I'll still got to go to work tomorrow.
That's it.
I mean, other people are like, nah, I'm quitting my job now. But then other people are like, oh, I'll go to work tomorrow and I'll think about what I'm going to do with that.
Yeah. Tall poppy syndrome is found elsewhere with other common settings in sporting and social clubs and workplaces.
Yeah, well, I can imagine it happening at workplace, especially if people have the exact same position.
So,
if you've got the same position as someone else and they're doing well, I don't know. Like, I'm confused about what the concept is. Is it people keeping their heads down, or is it people who are actually tall poppies? Is it people trying not to be tall poppies, or people who are tall poppies who are getting pushed back down?
Yeah, that's a good question, because at what point of view are you thinking, though? Because
well, the way you're reading it sounds like it's a person who could do better, but tries not to under the fear of being ostracized or people not lose. Be ridiculed, for example, resented. The best example I could put is if you got a friend who hates for some reason, hates the CFA, right? They can't stand the CFA, but you want to help people and join the CFA. Well, then you kind of stuck oh no, I wouldn't do that because this person's had some bad experiences with it, so I don't think I'll do it. Well, you might be a really fit person who can save some lives. I don't know.
So, because
that's the only situation I can imagine, like something like that.
So it's interesting because, like, I was just thinking of the example, like Chris Hemsworth, right? So he's actually, I think he's from Tasmania, isn't he not?
But how is
Oh, he's
he?
from Melbourne,
Like,
from Melbourne, sorry.
how is he an example? I didn't know he was from Melbourne. Oh,
He's
there
from
we go.
Melbourne. So
How is he an example of tall poppy syndrome in the sense what? So he was a really good actor, but he was trying not to.
He wanted to go because he probably thought himself that I could do better than this.
Maybe, I guess maybe he thought, I could go to America and get a real acting job, and maybe his friends and family were like, "Nah, you can't," or people he knew were like, "Nah, I wouldn't bother. You probably just end up back here and down $10,000 or something." I don't know. Is that what it implies?
No, here we go.
You got the actual goss.
No. So yeah, this is kind of what I was looking to find. So
Right.
he did a few little low kind of shows here and there. He featured on Neighbours a few times, not too often. He appeared on an episode of The Saddle Club.
He was on the Saddle.
Yeah, he had an episode of The Saddle Club, which is hilarious. So his main TV show, which made him basically, was Home and Away. He joined. I didn't say when he joined, but he did 171 episodes, which is pretty damn good.
I have no wonder I haven't. I've never watched that. Well, I have, but that was like 10 years. No, it was like 20 years ago. I watched Home and Away when I was younger, but not really because only little bits and pieces.
So I think
I'm glad I didn't watch it.
Chris Hemsworth, I think he has tall poppy syndrome. He is a tall poppy. Yeah, he's a tall poppy. Sorry, he left the cast of Home and Away on July 3, 2007. He later remarked that although he became more visible after Home and Away, his work on the show did not earn him respect within the film industry.
Okay.
He was a
The Australian film industry, or
yes,
film
probably,
industry in general?
probably the
Probably.
probably within the,
That would probably be.
yeah,
yes.
probably.
Well, if he went to the American film industry, they kind of wouldn't really know who he was.
Yeah.
Like, unless there was some. He comes in for like the interview for something, and he's like, I've done a few shows in Australia. I've been on this show. Home, look it up. It's Home and Away.
Yeah. So Hemsworth was
Shows him like turn and shit.
So this is the next paragraph I'm reading of his thing. Hemsworth was a contestant on the 5th season of Dancing with the Stars Australia. He partnered with someone called Abby Ross. The season premiered on the 26th September 2006, and after 6 weeks, Hemsworth was eliminated. Hemsworth's appearance in the franchise would almost cost him the role of Thor,
I was about to
as
say,
producers
wow.
of the Marvel film franchise feared fans would be put off.
What? Because he danced?
Well, he could have injured himself, I guess.
I don't know if that's the case, but he appeared on a show where he danced. Nah, we can't have Thor dancing.
In 2011, Sony Pictures announced that Hemsworth would star in the thriller Shadowrunner, but the film was not going to production. In the same year, Hemsworth was cast as the superhero Thor in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. His first film in the franchise was 2011's Thor. He and castmate Tom Hiddleston, who played Loki, had each auditioned for the role, for which Hemsworth said he gained 20 pounds of muscle. So, yeah, and
That's why they chose Hemsworth.
And it basically goes on.
So Thor could have been Loki, and Loki might have been Thor.
Yeah. So, and to me, it all stems back to the time he said, "Nah."
I can't imagine. What's his name? The other guy being Thor.
It would be weird, wouldn't it?
Like even if they dyed his hair and he put on muscle, I just can't like. I don't know what he looks like without the Loki costume and makeup and all that on, but
so it's interesting because like him remarking, saying like, well, it gave him visibility. He just didn't think it would give him enough respect within the film industry, and like that's like as an Australian looking at that, that's like, oh yeah, this guy's full of himself. And and then within the film industry, like they would have seen him having that attitude, and they would have like, you're not good enough yet. Cut him down because he needs to realise.
I suppose that's possible, but like if
Maybe.
we're talking about the Australian film industry, I'm sitting there going,
yeah,
like nobody, they're all shit.
Yeah, they all sound like us.
They're all sound. Yeah, I make a better actor. I'm always home and then away.
I'm always away from home.
I never liked Australian reality TV shows
Or just anything.
and soap opera. I'm an Australian, and I'd rather watch any other soap opera or TV show. Like it's just not the only good. I shouldn't say only good, but one of the good Australian shows is Blue Heelers, and I got sick of that. Like that's just so many episodes of that. And it's just so. It's a little too intense sometimes.
He did appear in a couple of series of Star Trek and The Perfect Gateway. I'm not sure what Perfect Getaway is, but I know what Star Trek is.
Isn't The Perfect Getaway another Australian show?
It's an American thriller film.
Oh, I'm thinking of something else. I'm thinking of what's that TV show they used to do about get something Getaway? It was about like resorts. And stuff.
That was just Getaway.
Is that just
that was
Channel?
That was
Getaway,
Channel 9.
Yeah.
Ernie Dinger was on that show.
Channel 9's Getaway, yeah.
Ernie Dinger was on. Yeah. Oh, Ernie.
But I can't think of any examples except for what you've told me with Chris Hemsworth, and the example is just basically he didn't have respect in the film industry because he did Home and Away.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there going, I don't think anyone has respect for people who did Home and Away.
Yeah.
I say I'm bashing on Home and Away, and I've barely watched the show ever.
Yeah, it's.
But again, that's the one example you can think of. I can't think of other examples of tall poppy.
Well, I mean, as a whole.
And again, I still don't even know if the concept. Sorry to interrupt. I still don't even know if the concept is it people suppressing themselves, or is it people being shut down by other people?
Tall poppy syndrome is the act of looking at someone who's doing good or being successful and just criticizing them, because that person who's criticizing is like, no, you're an Australian. We're all here for a fair and equal go. Because
that's cool. That's what a fair and equal go is. he got his go and he did well.
Yeah, I don't know, because in Australia and New Zealand, obviously we are smaller type populations.
I can give you. I've just worked out an example of this for me, actually, as you said, because it happens in the workplace, right? So when I was working as a concreter, I worked for this guy for 4 years roughly, and he would. I helped them like box up probably hundreds of slabs, and every single time I wanted to use the screed to actually like learn how to level the concrete, they'd go, oh, no, you'll have your time, you'll get your chance, and then every 10 jobs, I'd have to ask. Every time I'd have to ask, can I finish it? Can I do the last? They go, oh, we'll let you do the last bit. We'll let you do the last bit. And then they never let me do the last bit. They'd always forget, and I'd have to ask. Mm-hmm. And I'd ask almost every. I got sick of asking because I'd ask and they go, oh no, we're running out of time. We'll let you do the next one, and then 3 jobs later, I'd ask and then they'd no, we'll let you do the next one, and then 3 jobs later I'd ask and then they'd let me do it one time a month, right, or once every 3 months. I'd get to do this last little bit of leveling.
Okay.
And the thing that I found funny is because I've switched to this job where I actually level the floors now. I go back. I work. The company that I work for does the leveling for the company that the concreter used to work for, that I used to work for. So I go to his slabs and I check the levels for him. And it's quite funny because his levels are better than a lot of other concreters. Like, they're heaps better. They're not the best, but they're still heaps better. And I found it funny because I'm sitting there going, this guy was essentially repressing me or not letting me learn. And there's hundreds of blokes out there who do such a shitty job by comparison that if he'd let me do the whole slab, I could probably do 10 times better than most of the other blokes who are leveling.
Yeah.
And now, it's funny thing now is that if I actually was allowed to go back and do that job, it wouldn't really matter if I screwed up because I'd know how to come back and fix it myself. That's the funny thing. So that's the only example I can think of with tall poppy syndrome is not getting a chance.
Yeah. So I just
describe.
found some people who have posted about them having or being a tall poppy. So someone here on is it Quora? Quora? Quora. Anyway, it's a website for questions and answers basically. Someone says here, like, is tall poppy syndrome good and bad for culture and why? So someone answered saying, as someone who's identified as a tall poppy, aka stands out from a crowd, I definitely see the negative impacts on it. Tall poppy syndrome creates a mental obstacle for people to be the different/unique one and to show their real personality, for individuals to be scared to unleash their full potential due to being afraid of being harassed and cut down. This is exactly why there's no individuals in AFL. Because as soon as you are slightly different than anyone else, you be brought back in line. Basically.
Okay, so what do you mean different in AFL? You mean
comparing it to other sports like NFL, right?
Mm-hmm. So you're talking about the fact there's no standout star players or anything?
No, there's no standout individuals. Like there's obviously there's lots of good skilled players and whatever. They always kick a goal. They always hand pass it best or whatever, kick it best. But when it comes to standing out in the ways of being an individual, like this is what this person is saying, they get shut down immediately. In America, when anyone scores a touchdown, whoever scores a touchdown, they go absolutely bonkers and crazy and celebrate. Yeah. And like if we had players celebrating like they did in our sport, right? The whole
I guess it is. I guess it's the difference between going like touchdown, and his mates come up,
rip your shirt off,
and then AFL it's just a
high five, pat the butt, high five.
No, it's just a.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is this? So you're punching yourself?
You remember that? This is going.
Meanwhile, in soccer, it's goal. He's running around with his.
You remember that sports episode we did, and you're like, imagine if AFL players celebrated soccer players, and that's the 5th time we've seen Robbie's tit.
That's true. Actually, you're right about that. But it is now that I think about it, it is a little bit more like you could get a bit happier. But maybe it's soccer. But I also said in that episode that the difference with soccer and AFL is that soccer you only score 1 or 2 goals, so of course you get psyched about it. But AFL it's just goal after goal.
Yep.
But what did you say? Was it NRL?
NFL
or NFL? With NFL, they score a lot of touchdowns.
They
don't
do,
they, or not?
But they celebrate like they just won $1 million sometimes.
Yeah, but that's also just the American mentality when it comes to sports. Like, they get pretty stoked. But they don't celebrate in basketball very much.
Yeah.
Like, they get happy, and
they got no time, because as soon as they put it through
that's true, they get no time, yeah. Well, it's kind of the same thing in AFL in some ways, because you still got to have everybody running back to their positions before the ad finishes.
They have 30 seconds, yeah.
They got 30 seconds to get, and it's a much bigger field. So definitely. I guess... Well, with soccer, they probably take a bit of a longer break.
Yeah, I don't know how long, but yeah.
And with NRL,
NFL.
I keep getting NFL. NFL's the gridiron.
Yes.
Isn't it? Yeah, well, that's different because they all got to slowly reset all their positions.
Yeah, and the TV ads and the TV timeouts and everything else that happens.
Also, they'll do a lot of ads too.
Tall poppy syndrome generally applies to the areas of academics, business school, sometimes to music, but never to sports stars, because the sports stars get ridiculed by the fans who they have tall poppy syndrome, I guess.
Yeah, well, once again with sports, it's a bit different because it's not just tall poppy syndrome. It's more the fact that like you could get someone who does well in a professional sense, but people wouldn't really notice. But if it's a football player or an athlete, like a lot of people know that person's name and know who they are. So if they start essentially, putting themselves out there more, they're more open to ridicule in general.
Yeah, because it's interesting too. Because like now I think about like in like soccer, for example, like if you want to be the best, you start at the lower leagues, and as long as you're consistent and you improve, you earn your way up to higher leagues and better teams or whatever. Well, in AFL, if you're going to be a tall poppy like this, you can't really go anywhere with that. Like, the only thing you can do is slowly get a higher paycheck at the end of the day, but like that's not really...
I suppose, but again, I don't understand how it applies with AFL. Like, it's saying an individual... Like, with AFL, you're already at the top of the top in football.
Yeah,
so
but it's only... But the thing is, you're only limited to Australia, because there's no... AFL as a major league is not being played in America or Europe or whatever.
Correct. So I don't understand how it can apply to football or Australian leagues football. How can a tall poppy be suppressed in AFL if it's already one of the tallest poppies? It can't get any taller.
Well, because that's when the syndrome comes in, where people want to cut them down, right? Because again, there are the people who like prefer the old style of where you play as a team, not as individuals. And so, like I said, as soon as you see someone who's, being a bit different and not being as serious, or trying to showboat, it's like, well, no, that's not part of our culture. That's not.
Is this in AFL specific?
Well, I mean, that could apply to any sport really in Australia. Actually, now thinking about it, but yeah, that's just one.
I'm just trying to think of what you mean by different.
So
because like I said, I can understand how it applies to movies and stuff like that, or TV shows, but with sports, like, you're already at the highest of the high.
There's usually,
you know what I mean?
So in AFL, like, each team has a certain player who's like the not an X factor, but like they're called. Oh, what are they called?
Because there are really good, for example, basketball players in Australia who have joined the NBA in America. Like, they've gone over there and just started playing and doing stuff over there, because that's the highest league.
Yeah.
And best paying, I should say, as well.
I can't remember what the word is for it.
So they haven't really been repressed, well, as far as I know.
There's a word for it, but I can't remember what it is. There's usually like the odd player in a team where, they'll pop up every 2 games and do really good. Like, cult figure.
Mm-hmm.
So the only acceptance of tall poppies we allow are cult figures, because
Okay, so
they're not
someone who pops up and does well for a while and drops back down.
Yeah, fluctuates a bit, but we know because they're a good character. They don't carry on as much as someone who's tall poppy, but we like them. They're slightly different, not heaps different, but they're slightly different.
I can think of an example of a tall poppy in NBA in America.
I mean,
and that's Jeremy Lin.
Okay. Yep.
Because they had that whole Lin sanity thing, right?
Yes.
He popped up for a while, and I watched a video where someone went into depth about what happened with all that, right? And basically, he got traded to another team, or he left the team, and then he didn't do too well, and then he had personal family issues and whatnot, and he was in another team for a while and got benched again, and he was back and forth and this and that, and then he switched to helping people in. I think if I remember correctly, he switched to helping people in like inner city areas in America to sort of use basketball to sort of get them out of the streets or something like that.
Insanity was the thing. Yeah, I remember now.
Forgot all about that, didn't you?
Yeah, because
but he's still playing now. But apparently he's one of the older players.
He's 34.
Now. Yeah,
he's Taiwanese American. Wow. Yeah, right. See, I would say he's a cult figure, kind of, almost, not so much a tall poppy, but I guess.
Well, in the sense that he may have been repressed a little bit.
Yes.
Because, like I said, he switched teams a couple of times
yes.
and then didn't do as well. And people sort of probably were like, "Oh, I don't want to give him just because he did really well here. He's too big for his britches. I don't know." But apparently, the guy's really, really nice. He's a really nice guy.
Going back to this person,
but that's an example I can think of that I would imagine.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that kind of situation.
A small indirect positive benefit of tall poppy syndrome is that the justice system is slightly fairer, since a large majority of people decides that they have to be the same as everyone else. Corruption, bribing judges, and other unlawful acts are less likely to happen. There's also, I don't know about that sentence.
I don't know about that. That's it. Just means other people will do it.
Yes. There's also
or try to.
Yeah. There's also the common occurrence of someone who does suffer from tall poppy syndrome to deny it and put their prejudice to an outstanding individual, as I just feel like we all need to be the same, or they're just showing off.
Again, now I don't know what it's like. It's got multiple definitions.
It kind of does. It's very open.
Yes, yeah.
As a young, driven, and change-making professional, tall poppy syndrome is definitely a negative aspect in my life, as me and other individuals like me are cut down for trying their best. However, there are very few indirect benefits of TPS, meaning that the people are more scared to cause fraud and unlawful acts.
I'm so confused by this. It sounds like a person who. It sounds like if you're a person who's not doing well, you're blaming it on other people and all that. And if you're a person who's doing well, other people tried to keep you down.
It sounds like a form of jealousy.
It does in both directions.
Yeah.
You can be jealous of a person because they're a tall poppy, or you can be jealous of a person because you should be a tall poppy, but they are and you're not. Or you think everybody's against you, but you did. I don't know.
Because the
I'm so confused.
So on Triple M when I listen to them, like when they do their football shows and stuff, they do a lot of tearing each other apart because they're all tall poppies themselves, and that's when
the host tear themselves apart.
Yeah. But they do it for comical reasons though, because it's entertainment.
Yeah, that's joking around between them and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, some jokes can go too far, but I don't think it really happens I don't think jokes go too far on the radio.
Yeah.
Very often.
Someone says, do you feel the tall poppy syndrome when you're living in Australia? And someone said, I don't think so. I think it's way over-exaggerated. The practice of tearing down someone just because they're successful is a human flaw rather than an Australian one, and is visible far more strongly in other cultures than ours.
I mean, I don't think it's visible more or less in any culture.
I mean, I guess because we're exposed, we're not exposed to the out of world. We're only within our bubble of Australia that we can notice it.
That's not true. We're exposed to American news media, American TV shows. We're exposed to Japanese TV shows, Japanese media. We are also, like, you find everything on the internet. Like, you find plenty of Indian TV shows that are very funny in some ways. You want to see what different cultures are up to? Just jump on Snapchat and just travel around the world on Snapchat. I went on Snapchat. I clicked and I was like, but Bangladesh. I'll click on that. I'm like, wow, there are a lot of scooters.
This is interesting. Here's perspective from a couple of different countries. Funnily enough, the relation is that they're all part of the Commonwealth. So this person is from New Zealand, and they say it is a pervasive problem here in New Zealand. Speaking of country issues, one popular tall poppy point is directed at foreigners, including white English-speaking ones. Some New Zealanders get seriously negative attitudes towards people from larger, more glamorous-seeming countries, or just people who have a wide range of geographic experience and options. There is also a tall poppy syndrome regarding higher education. Even just being a first-year undergrad can make you a target. New Zealand has a high rate of unplanned children with a corresponding tall poppy attitude towards child-free women. So that's from New Zealand point of view. This next one's from a Canadian point of view.
Okay.
Yes, it's a very big problem in Canada. Instead of striving to reach our maximum potential, we brag about being middle class or even poor. 8% of the richest Canadians pay more than half of the whole country's taxes, yet people still hate them. The tiered tax bracket has made a lot of successful people feel taken advantage of and unwanted. A lot of them leave for the US as a result. There's this culture of pursuing happiness, whatever that means, rather than success. I think it's a negative.
What's wrong with pursuing happiness over success?
Because US doesn't have tall poppy so much, I feel. Because it's freedom.
Oh, you're saying in the US it's about happiness rather than success.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's.
With Canada, it's more about success, apparently.
Yeah, I think it's a negative aspect of Canadian culture, but people seem to accept it. In the UK, just a quick one says, I'm in the UK and I think yes, it most certainly exists here. I won't say it's quite a problem, but it's annoying and unproductive.
I'm just trying to think of, like, I can understand, again, no, I haven't really heard examples from anything, these people, which is a bit annoying. Like, it's all one person or another person's conjecture. One person says this is a thing, other people say it's not a thing. I guess I can understand, like, people naturally trying to, like, being jealous and trying to bring someone down because, for lack of a better word, they're better than you. It's the best way for me to put it. Like, or someone thinks that, even if someone, especially if someone actually thinks they're better than someone and says that to them, it really pisses off the other person.
Definitely.
Even if they're not better than them, like, the fact that they've said to this person, I'm better than you, really pisses off the other person no matter what.
Yeah. Yep.
Unless it's someone who's, like, literally, like, has millions of dollars and then it's some other person. Actually, no. Even if it was the poorest man in the world and the richest man in the world, I think the richest man in the world would get pissed off because the poorest man said he's better than him.
Imagine.
That'd be an interesting conversation. You got nothing. Yeah, I'm still better than you.
I guess because it also stems to, like, in Australia, we love the underdog, and we always want the lesser likely person to win because have a fair go. I don't know.
I mean, once again, that's everyone. Everyone likes an underdog.
I suppose so.
But why do people like an underdog?
Because I like seeing the good guy lose sometimes.
the good guy lose. No, I think it's well, depending on the person, I'd say that they want to see the underdog win because they feel like an underdog themselves, and seeing someone else succeed, they can project themselves into that position. I'd imagine if you're someone who wants to be like dreams of becoming, let's say, a world champion boxer, and you're watching boxing, you're watching this one guy who's doing well, and he's slowly climbing up ladders, and he says in an interview like my dream is to challenge the best, and ever since I was a kid, and for all those people out there who aren't in this position, like a humble person says that, another person will project themselves onto that person because they've got the same dream. And then when they get to versing the champ, they'll definitely want the champ to lose against the newcomer.
Yeah.
Or the underdog.
We'll wrap up shortly, but like at one point I was wanting to make was, can you name 3 or 4 successful Australian streamers or content creators?
Content creators, I could name that one guy. What's his name? I Did a Thing.
Oh yeah.
You know him?
Yep.
I Did a Thing. There was a Pokemon guy. There's a Pokemon guy. I forgot what his name was. I can't remember. I mean, I guess you could say Friendly Jordy's is a successful pop guy.
Okay.
I mean, he's doing well.
Yes, but
he keeps throwing himself into he keeps making it hard for himself. He's got stuck with people giving him tall poppy syndrome and stuff like that.
Yeah, so
but those are the ones that I know. They're the people that I know. There was those other guys. How ridiculous.
Oh, are they Australian? Are they? Oh yeah, they are. Yeah.
They're Queenslanders, aren't they?
Oh, West Australians, I think actually. They did that they threw the thing onto the trampoline or something. Yep.
I hate
West Australians.
I hate it so much. I hate their content. I hate the fact that they get to do all that stuff, but like, and it's dumb, it's
pointless.
Stupid, but it's also it's pointless. Yeah, but it's friggin' genius. Like they've turned dropping stuff off high places into millions of dollars. Yeah. Because like you can't beat them down for that. Like they're bloody geniuses anyway.
So there was,
and I freaking hate it. But they're not even the worst. YouTube is a cesspool.
Yeah,
a cesspool of just the most ridiculous bullshit.
And
doing well,
and egomaniacs as well.
There's a whole channel. There's a channel I found where the guy basically he's done well, complaining about how other people are doing well doing stupid stuff.
That's brilliant.
And he's doing well because he's like, what? He's like, look at these idiots. Yeah, look, like I remember watching the video and he's like, look at this view. This TikTok chick's got the most views in all of TikTok, and all she does is turn and look at the camera and then change angles with the camera.
Because
and then he shows like this young kid who's like plays the piano beautifully and can do it really well or something, and it's like, and this has only got 500 views. What is the world coming to? He's a bit of a Debbie Downer.
Right. There was, because like I can think of a few Australians who've gone over to the States, like in the content creating sort of side of things, and they've made themselves a bigger name over there as opposed to if they were still here.
Oh, well, there you go.
And
like who?
Rubber Ross O'Donovan for starters. He's from Perth.
Before you get into it, is it YouTubers or streamers? Video content creators or just
they are, because he does YouTube, Twitter,
or is it both?
Sorry, he does YouTube and Twitch.
Okay.
But he's a digital artist. That's most of his stuff. But
I mean, naturally you are. Oh, there was that other guy who does like the drawings.
Yes.
The guy who does, I sent you the videos of the Disney princesses and how he messes them up.
Yeah, but did he move to the US?
I don't know, but I don't know if he moved to the US or not. But that guy's definitely Australian.
Because that's the thing with like Friendly Jordies, right? He does well, obviously in Australia, but like if you go to the States, that's because no one's gonna know. Well,
he wouldn't do well in the States because his focus is
Australian politics.
Yeah, exactly, and he's purposely done that.
So,
but considering how much he's been in the news media and stuff like that, it's interesting. Like how many subscribers does he have? I'm curious now.
Don't know. So I feel like that's,
and also he focuses mostly on New South Wales as well.
Yes, because that's probably where he lives.
Yeah, well, yes, Jackson. That's where he lives.
Yeah. So I think there's a thing too where people who have suffered from tall poppy syndrome like Robert Ross probably. I don't know if he was, but he moved to the States and he was able to pursue happiness or better opportunities and make a name for himself.
Just the way you said
happiness.
But the other thing I've got to interject with that is that it doesn't matter. Any content creator, even if it was, for example, you or let's loosely say me, moved to the States and started making content in the States, they would naturally do better in the States than Australia because there's just more people there. And when they're uploading or when they're streaming, would be around the same time they're all awake. You got to, as you told me, you got to do the graveyard shift in Australia if you want to get US viewers.
Which is, it's not nice. That's why, like I said, there's no successful content creators here.
Because you got a limited pool essentially.
Yeah.
One of the theories about why PewDiePie did really well is because he moved countries a few times.
Yes.
And a guy who I'm trying to think of who it was. The guy who made the video about that tested the theory. So he changed his VPN or something, or he changed where his content would show up in the world, and he ended up getting like UK viewers, US viewers, and all, and it spread his content around more.
Because the only one I can think of, like for streaming wise, Laserbeam. He's the only one I can really recognize.
I don't even know who that is. Are these mostly streamers?
YouTubers.
Okay, so their main content is YouTube.
It would seem that way. Yes.
Edited videos.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's from Queensland, I'm pretty sure.
And what, he moved to America? Or?
No, he's still in Australia, I believe.
Oh, but he's doing well.
He's doing well. So there was some, because that's the thing too, because when you're starting out in Australia, like if you've got a part-time job, you're mostly likely working during the day. And then by the time you get home, you might be 3, 4 o'clock. And then by that time, most of America's gone to bed.
Yeah, that's true. That's exactly it. Which is why, but the good thing about YouTube is you can set the videos to launch at certain times.
Yeah.
So you can always set it to launch at the perfect time.
Yeah.
So that's why even you're less limited with YouTube than you are with streaming in regards to that.
Definitely.
But YouTube tends to send stuff in your area to you.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if YouTube in Japan, right, you might show up, but a lot of other Australian or even American content creators probably wouldn't show up in Japan because they don't speak English.
No, that's right.
So YouTube and Google would be like, no, we'll send you. You're not going to watch the content that you don't understand. Keep moving my hands back. You're not going to view the content that you don't understand or anything like that. You're going to view the content that you want to see and that you're used to seeing. So we'll send you Japanese creators, for example, or German creators.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Shall we about wrap it up?
Yeah, I think I've got what I wanted out. I don't know if it made any sense, but
let's see how my audio turns out with this new.
Yes. So, thanks guys for watching and listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next episode, which we're recording 2 or 3 days
Subscribe
later.
to our socials.
Check out our socials.
Check out our socials.
Okay, bye.
I'll tell you some of my socials. Alright, I'm done.
I don't want to see your socials now you say it like that.